Hello, everyone. I'm Yamino, the artist of Sister Claire, and I'm joined tonight by.
The one, the only, the incredible, the indelible Ash Barnes. I write the missing moments and I help Eleanor write the comic.
And tonight I'm going to be drawing an illustration from. It's not a Patreon story, is it? You just drew it for a live write.
Mm-hmm. If someone wants to claim it as a Patreon story,
Me.
they can.
I gave you the idea.
Okay.
It was me. It's an illustration for a story that Ash wrote for me, her favorite beloved wife.
God, Eleanor.
And it's a picture of Rose, who's a character you probably won't know until you've read this story, because she is so background that she's actually not even in the comic or the missing moments yet. Like, she may be mentioned, but she has been dead since before the story began. So she is the older sister of King Michel, who was intended to be the Queen of Throne of Mare, but died unexpectedly and left him to pick up the pieces.
And by older, we mean by 3 minutes.
Yeah.
I tried to make it clear in the story by saying a few times that they were both 6. They are, in fact, twins.
Yeah. What should she wear? I have never drawn her before.
A gown.
A gown? I thought she would wear like an armory kind of thing, like
or
a guard.
Yeah, you could do that. She would be more comfortable in a uniform.
When you first described her to me, like, she's gonna look a lot like Rosalie from Sister Claire, from the main twins that you know and love. But when you described her to me as being like having hair that's even paler than the platinum blonde I give the twins, almost white or silvery kind of. And then when I thought of her personality, she reminds me of Claymore's from Claymore, which I'm about to show you pictures of. But like, actually the main character of Claymore is called Claire. But it's spelled differently. But like, this was the first vision I got in my head, this kind of like Valkyrie, ultra pale. This is my favorite character from Claymore. Her name is Teresa, and she's very pretty, and she dies tragically just like Rose.
God,
spoiler alert.
Her anatomy is so creepy.
I know, it's really weird. It's kind of meant to be, because they're not really human. They're like monster women that were they started as women, and then they were like modified by these horrible people to be kind of monster hunters who can also become monsters themselves. It's a very Sister Claire kind of concept, actually. But that was the sort of visual I had in my head. And then I thought of her wearing some kind of armor. Oh, look, shippy art of my favorite character. Anyway, I'm getting really distracted. But like, what kind of armor would you imagine her wearing?
I don't know. Something a lot like...
I'm going to look up Queen armor.
Okay.
See what comes up.
Laura asked, will she have Michelle's Oscar's nose? It's a family trait. She could.
Yeah, she could.
I think she should.
Something to separate her from Rosie a little bit. Ooh, what if she had this like really ornate kind of armor?
Okay.
I like this.
You're going to have to draw it.
I'm only going to draw it one time in my whole life, so I might as well make it good.
Minster200 says, hi, I've always wanted to be on a Sister Claire stream. Well, your wish has been granted. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome.
My wish has been to have you in a stream, so everybody is getting what they want.
Hooray!
Hooray!
Oh, hooray!
Oh, look, this is great. Helen Mirren as Queen Elizabeth in some kind of weird, ridiculous dress of armor. I love it. I love it.
No.
You don't like?
No.
Why not?
Because she looks so dumb. God.
Ooh, how about this? This is cool. It's like a dress with armor on top of it.
It looks like she accidentally plunged into a trash can on her way to the runway.
I think it's a cool look. You get to be fashionable and protect your boobs.
Armor doesn't work that way.
I'm going to look up princess armor and see what happens. Okay, this is a bit silly now. I don't like... Oh, yes, the best princess armor ever. Xena's. Warrior princess. Why didn't I realize that was going to come up? Oh, she could wear something like this.
Mm.
What's that? Oh, that's cool.
Laura sent this one.
What about this one? This looks a little bit more Throne of Mare style.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty equivalent.
This is from a movie, isn't it? I recognize this picture, but I don't remember what from.
I don't recognize it. But that doesn't mean anything.
Where was that other like really decorative armor that I had open? I forgot to save a picture. You really don't like this one. I love it.
God.
I love it. I'm just gonna save it for my own pleasure. Here it is. Here's the armor I loved. Maybe I can mix this and the one that I just had open.
Okay.
Oh, it's called Pirate Queen armor. Let me see if I can find more pictures of that. Ooh. Oh, that seems to be the only photo. Oh, Keira Knightley as the Pirate Queen. That looks a little bit silly. Also, that's not even armor, so why are they calling it that? Oh. Well, I will... Oh, here was another cool armor down here. I'll keep these. I'm going to save this in a new reference folder just for Rose. Do I have a Throne of Mare folder? I feel like I do. Oh, there's 2 whole pictures in it. For anybody who's wondering, this is always how I do character designs. Just Google, steal, reassemble, disassemble, play with color palettes. Voila, character design.
Speaking of voila, I really like it here in Belgium. After you buy something at pretty much any store, like after they have issued you a receipt, they'll say, voila, like, look at what we have done. We have completed a purchase. And I'm just like, oh, that's really cute.
And if they drop all of your soda, that's now going to explode when you've been intending to drink it immediately after purchase. The soda falls across the counter and they go, hola.
Yeah.
Hola.
Hola.
Hola is the really shorthand version of oh la 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 la, which is what the old ladies say when they hear something they don't like. Okay, I think I've saved enough millions of pictures of armor. Oh, I wanted to mention too that it's really timely that I'm drawing this tonight of all nights, because if you've read the story, which I'm sure you have, it involves a character named Rose and also marigolds. And the tea that I'm drinking right now has rose and marigolds and also almond and vanilla in it, but it's so good. It's from my favorite tea place here in Brussels, which I've been waiting literal years to come back to after running out of my stash of tea from here a long time ago. And they had my favorite tea still. I'm so happy. What's so funny? Yeah, what's so funny?
Laura says, Ash, do they always say voila in the same voice Elena does the spider la la la?
Voila la 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 la.
They do.
They don't. No, they don't.
The couple of times I've heard it today, they sure did.
They don't go voila la 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 la.
No, but they just go voila. Voila. It's so cute.
What is this tablet doing? Behave yourself. Tablet, obey me.
Calandra said, Ash, I just read your short live write. I am somewhat regretting asking about Michelle's parents now. All the feels.
No. Let me try the other side.
Do you need some help?
This is the side that doesn't like to be plugged in. You know what? Oh, I'm using the wrong pen. Ugh, I'm using my tablet pen on Sarah's tablet. That would be why. Okay.
That'll do it.
Now we know. How old is she in this picture?
When are you drawing her?
Maybe right before her death.
Oh.
Not like in her deathbed, but like
Yeah, please don't do that.
the age she would be at that time.
She would.
Although I could do like one of those
Please
Ophelia and the flowers kind of pictures where she's in her armor holding her sword all the way down and there's pretty flowers all. No, I'm not going to draw that.
Let's not. No. Let's not draw her dead.
This would be the painting they erected right after she died to remember her at her best.
When she's dead? In her funeral? Like...
No, like after a royal dies, they would have, you know, pictures of them to memorialize them at their peak, like the best memory of them.
Okay, so not a picture of her essentially in her coffin.
No, it's not like a death mask. It's like...
That's why I was like, no one would want that hung up ever. God.
Well, some people do actually, but...
Well, some people are creepy, okay?
Some people are French royalty.
Jesus.
But no, how old would she look?
19.
Okay. So Claire's age.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Claire's a little older now, isn't she?
Well, Claire's 19. Rose was 18, 19 when she died. That's what I've always thought anyway. Somewhere between 18 and 20. Kalandra asks, why are all the cool characters dying when young? Only the good die young. That's what I said. Anyway, probably no one knows that song.
I know it. Isn't that Elton John?
My horrified silence should answer the question, Helena.
I mean, I know that song. I just don't know who sings it.
It's Billy Joel. MK Art says, so Michelle became king before 20? Wow. He might not have been crowned right after her death. Just because her coronation was scheduled doesn't mean they would go ahead and crown him.
What's it called when what's it mean when somebody's king regent? Does that mean that they are like just the king temporarily until somebody comes of age? Like somebody else could have been king regent.
It means that someone else is technically supposed to be king or queen or whatever, but because they are too young or are incapacitated for some reason, the other person as regent is temporarily taking over their duties. Yeah. Roxy's like, it's Billy Joel! That song. Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Alright, just rub it in my face. I know I don't know anything about pop culture.
Proxy also says, Ash, during the live write, you said Michelle and Sylvia have survived several assassination attempts, so we had some questions about that. Yes. So, yes, people do somewhat routinely try to kill the monarchs. Specifically, at the start, Michel didn't really start having problems until it was announced that he was going to marry Sylvia. Then there were several attempts on both his life and hers, mostly on her. The attempts have certainly tapered off as people have discovered the monarchy is actually a lot more stable than they thought.
I think it's weird that they were really against marrying into another country because that's actually a very common thing for royals to do.
No, it is. It's just that country was a very small one and extremely far away. There were probably what were perceived as better alliances.
More eligible bachelorettes.
Yeah.
or bachelors, because Thronamata people are mostly open-minded.
There is an instance coming up in which uh, attempts on the monarch's lives would resume in the Missing Moment timeline because of a decision that they are going to make that is unpopular with several. MK Art asks, who made the decision to have them marry? Michelle and Sylvia. It was an agreement. Um, it was an agreement that had been set into motion when Michelle was probably around 10 or 11, and when Sylvia was quite a bit younger, like still just a toddler, a baby. Um, but it was made at a time when it was assumed that Michelle was not going to assume the throne. And he was kind of offered as this bargaining chip. Like, yeah, he's not going to be king, but hey, he's still royal.
Probably at the time it wasn't seen of as good a deal as it
Mm-hmm.
was after Rose died.
Yeah.
Suddenly, this small country who is going to be wedded to the king was getting a lot more prestige out of it
Mm-hmm.
and power out of
Mm-hmm.
it.
Getting a heck of a lot more power, considering someone they thought they were marrying off to essentially be a consort is now going to be the queen of another country. Like, that's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
A country that has not only a lot more citizenry, but a lot more in general resources, ties, alliances, things like that. The country in question is called Alpinum. It's where Sylvia's from. It is based on Austria. If anyone's curious, I got the name uh, from Edelweiss, the white flower that's so common to Austria that's sung about in The Sound of Music.
Edelweiss, Edelweiss, every morning you greet me. Anyway.
I don't actually know all the words.
Small and white, clean and bright, you look happy to greet me. I can sing it all if you want, but I feel like you've got more explaining that you want to do, so. Blossom of snow, may you bloom and grow forever. Edelweiss, Edelweiss, bless my homeland forever. You would be amazed how many Americans thought that was the Austrian national anthem. It is not. It was invented for a musical called The Sound of Music. And Austrians don't know or care very much about that musical. It was only popular in America and outside, anywhere but Austria.
What was I saying? But anyway, Alpinum is part of the scientific name of Edelweiss, and that's where that comes from. Nerd alert! It's me. That's how I name stuff, y'all. I just look up plants, and I'm like, aight, and I go from there. Or I ask someone who's better at names than me, like, hey, what's
I came up with Thronamate. I thought that was a pretty good one.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I'm not always good with names, But when I do have a good name, it's usually the one that surfaces immediately, like Winkle.
Yes.
I don't know why, but it was just the perfect name for my cat.
Hmm.
As I was bringing her into the house, I was walking up the stairs and I thought, Winkle. Yes, she's a Winkle.
Hmm. Oh, some people in the chat are wondering what happened to the guy that tried to kill Oscar during the tournament. Someone thought Josephine had killed him. No, Captain Josephine didn't kill him. She just cut off his arm. And
No, let him off lightly.
she cut off his arm, and he did not die. Laura's right. He got some medical attention after that. It's even written in the missing moment that he is attended by people. But dismemberment like that often does not result in death. You would have to leave someone bleeding for them to die, usually.
In your experience.
Yes, in my great and profound experience with people getting their limbs chopped off in front of me.
Well, you have more than most people.
I do, but let's not talk about that. Oh, Proxy says, did I hear right? Sylvia's from Alpinum? Isn't that the country whose diplomat almost died from strawberry tea in the live right? Yes, it is. Indeed.
Good eye.
Sorry, random dude who I gave anaphylaxis. And my own strawberry allergy.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, oh, was that inspired by the tea I had you smell the other day?
The one
that almost killed you?
Yeah, maybe it was. You should try to work the. I know you've done this lovely design of.
You want it to have the throne of mare symbol?
I feel like it should.
Yeah, I can do that. It's going to be like a little nipple pasty right here. And another nipple pasty right here. It's perfect. Okay, there we go.
Helena. Kilandra says, also, what did Rose die from in the live right? Was it an assassination or a sudden illness? It was a sudden illness.
Can I say what it was?
Yeah.
It was the lemon sickness.
Mm-hmm. It's the same thing that Oscar got really sick with.
Same thing that in another live right,
almost
Rosie,
yeah,
like the Rosie from the comics, almost died of. The Throne of Mare Royal line has kind of a susceptibility to it.
Mm-hmm. Proxy said, I wouldn't be surprised if someone suspected Michelle of poisoning her. I don't think anyone would. You see, you know how in the live right I mentioned several times like stories about royal siblings usually involve one of them killing the other or like they're not usually pleasant. It was obvious to everyone around them the kind of relationship that Rose and Michelle had. There was no animosity. If they ever fought, it was over something like,
Lego my ego.
Yeah, like cookies or chocolate or something so minor. They didn't even fight the way typical siblings would. They were very close. They had to be.
Also, Michelle is kind of too weak to fight, so
I wouldn't say that. I think he will certainly fight for
an ego,
and things that are very important to him, namely his sister.
But what I mean is, if she did really want to fight him over something, I would see him just kind of folding and being like, okay, sis.
Probably, but again, Rose isn't that kind of person.
Yeah.
Like, wasn't. She's now dead. Kalandra says, what is the lemon sickness based off of? I'm very intrigued. It's based off scarlet fever.
Same thing that made Helen Keller go blind and deaf.
Mm-hmm. Smoosh said about Rose. Not the beat up my baby brother type at all. No, absolutely not. Like, Michel gets enough flack from the rest of his family that Rose wouldn't seek to contribute to it, and they don't have that kind of relationship. They just don't. They gain absolutely nothing from fighting with each other, and they have everything to gain from supporting one another. They learned that very early. Laura wants to know, hey, do you think there's any chance of rose and marigold tea?
Hmm.
Hmm.
I don't know. I'd need to spend a lot more time thinking about them because they're not quite developed enough yet for me to have a taste association with them.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get back to you on that.
Jamie says, so was the accidental poisoning incident the reason Michelle and Sylvia got betrothed? No, they were probably betrothed before that. Yeah, like, it was probably just an alliance made really early on, them trying to provide some security, not only for Michelle, but hey, another alliance or a stronger alliance. Probably there was some trade agreement involved. Uh, and no one ever thought that A, Michelle would inherit the country, and B, that Sylvia would become Mare's queen. Bless you.
Whew, hang Ow.
Proxy said, I can't imagine that was a good first impression. Actually, when you think about it, it was probably an excellent one. Like, Michel did not mean to poison the dignitary, and what he did do was help them and uh, manage to curb their reaction enough so they didn't die before.
I still don't think that's an excellent impression.
Well, it's not. It's probably not something that the dignitary even knew that they were allergic to. They don't have
Strawberry?
They don't have strawberries in Alpinum.
Yeah, they do. It's Austria.
Not in this one. Hilandra's asking if you're still not feeling well.
I'm still not, unfortunately. I'm feeling marginally better, but it's still been a difficult time. Oh, what have I done?
What have you done?
I've designed a very difficult hand pose.
Laura says, how did Sylvia feel getting the sudden news? Hey, you're queen now. Hey, good luck. um, she was not expecting that. But had certainly had a little bit more preparation than Michelle. Not necessarily to run a country, but was just in general better suited.
She paid attention in school.
He tried.
She knew how to read.
He knows how to read. Give him a break. Tilandra wants to know, was Sylvia a princess or a different level of nobility? She was definitely a princess, but she wasn't the firstborn.
She was like Marie Antoinette, basically.
What's that mean?
Marie Antoinette was a princess. Well, I don't know if you would call her a princess. Her mother was empress. Does that count as like
Yes.
queen? Basically, yeah. I don't know if she was officially called a princess, but that's basically what Marie Antoinette was.
Smoosh said the king is not illiterate, right? No, it's mentioned in the story that
I'm just being a jerk to him.
He loves reading. Oh, here's a question. Laura says, did you two ever decide which of the twins was born first between Rosalie and Marie?
Yeah, didn't we say that Rosie had been born first?
Did she? Did we? Was she?
I think that we have talked about both outcomes and never solidly decided which one. Like, I could see Rosie having been born first and holding that over Marie forever and being like, well, as the older, more mature one, and Marie being like, you're older by like 15 seconds. Okay.
I'm not sure. I think it was probably Rosie.
If it wasn't her, she probably claims to be.
Yeah.
And Marie's like, I don't know about that. It's quite possible they don't know.
Yeah, it is.
More likely, I think they just don't know. And Rosie assumes it was her. And Marie's just like, okay, whatever. It doesn't matter to me that much. Well, I take that back. Oscar would know. And that's probably not something she'd withhold.
I wonder if I have written it in a previous live write somewhere.
I wonder.
Good questions, y'all. Good questions. This is a really good question. Laura says, here's something I always wondered. How much do the twins know of their own past? Like, I remember you saying the story of Thronem Mare's fall is not widespread enough for them to know it's gone to absolute shit. So, like, how much do they know? Do they think Oscar picked them up on the street and decided to just go off to Mercy because reasons? Shall I answer, Helena? The twins know that the city fell. They know that. They think, though, that something happened and that the city is still
like empty.
They think it's just standing there empty.
Like a ghost town.
Yeah.
Except a ghost country.
Yeah. A city-state, essentially. They know something horrible happened. They've just never been able to quite get the story of what happened. That's because not many people do know. There are refugees that exist from Thronem Mare. Obviously, Catherine and Oscar are among them. But a lot of people don't really know what happened. The city started to fall. Bad things started happening. There are so many refugees, people who got out, who don't know what started going, like what started everything going wrong. Many people just saw things going to hell and ran. The ones who ran early, you know, they got away. They have no idea what happened, only that there's no getting back in. The twins probably think that they are some kind of nobility. Like, in that they know Oscar was pretty important and that she was tasked with taking care of them. I don't think either of them assumes that they are princesses or anything. I think they think, oh, maybe our parents were really wealthy, lesser nobles, something like that. This obviously does not matter anymore, given that Throne of Mare fell. What do you think, Elena?
I started to frown because I was like, I've never thought that Oscar would let them think that they were royalty.
I don't. Nobility is different from like royalty. Like they probably thought that they were from a wealthy family or something.
Mm-hmm.
Wealthy enough and important enough that their parents tasked Oscar with getting them out of the city.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, they have not discerned that Oscar is related to them.
I think deep down they must.
They probably think that she's like a distant cousin or something, or maybe even an aunt. Oops.
Don't you think they would ask?
Yeah, they would. Oscar would lie or tell them that she's not allowed to tell them, or she would give them the ultra censored, watered down version of a bad thing happened. I was told to get you out. I have done that. Now I am in charge of you. The end. Like, Laura called them indigo people. Her mom, yeah, like their parents. Indigo is like one of the highest rings. It's the second highest. It's where a lot of the nobility lives. She also said, related to me, imagine that. Let me go back and to fantasize about her lips. All right, Rosalie, I see you. I think, too, something that has never let Rosalie and Marie really ever believe that they were super important. No one's ever come looking for them.
Mm-hmm.
No one has ever come looking for them. And something else that I have wanted to write about in Live Rights before, and I haven't really gotten a chance yet. I also have to be really careful because spoilers. And often when I do Live Rights, I don't talk to Elena about stuff first. And this is something that I would want to, clear with you before I started writing about it. But I've always imagined that people from, like refugees from Throne of Mare, probably are not treated that well. Because the thing that happened there, it's, there's not a heck of a lot I can say, but a lot of people would be worried that refugees would have carried something out of the city with them that was terrible.
Also, because of all the misinformation and the confusion about what exactly did happen, even if they weren't sure what it was, they'd be like, whatever it is, don't come near me with it. Like,
yeah, like Laura's saying, is it contagious?
They
is
might
it
just
ash?
think
Is it?
they might just think the place is cursed,
Yeah, like whether you think a contagion or a curse or anything. This is a world where you have giant, horrible octopus deer monsters running around in the woods. Okay, you don't mess around with people who came from a city that fell, and it's
Not only that, but consider like our current political climate and how people react to refugees.
Yeah.
Now imagine that those refugees could be coming from a place where some kind of toxic monster maybe died. I'm not saying that's what happened, but like that could be a possibility. They could bring that with them.
Yeah.
It's like an extra layer of do not want.
Take into account too that a lot of the people fleeing Throne of Mare do have magic. They have magic. They're going to be dragging that with them, and magic draws shards just like anything. Large groups of people draw shards. So groups coming out of Throne of Mare would not have been well received in many, many places. Refugees in general are very rarely treated well as a group, so that will be reflected in the story. Smoosh is saying, Ash, are we, the readers, going to find out what happened at some point? Yes, you are, dear heart. Yes, you are. But something that I have always wanted to write about in Live Writes is, so you all know that something that I've written about in Live Writes before will eventually start to cover in the missing moments once they catch up and once missing moments pivot back to Mercy at some point. Nuns from Mercy and from all abbeys actually make pilgrimages to salvation to do service. Like, they're routinely called there to help shore up the city's walls and wards, to do things, to pour whatever latent magic they may have, energia, whatever, into keeping that city up and running. That means that Rosalie and Marie, especially once they took their vows, also had to make those pilgrimages. And they also went even earlier than that with Catherine and Oscar, just to visit the city. While they were there, they probably encountered things like that were from Throne of Mare, memorabilia, things like that, talked to people who were from there. It is entirely possible that once or twice people looked at them askance and were like, whoa. But then again, how often do you look at the face that's on the coin that you've had in your pocket since the city that you used to live in fell? Probably not very often, right?
Not only that, but their faces were not on the coin.
No, but they look a lot like their mom. And her face was.
Yeah, but it's an artistic representation. It wasn't like all those people saw the queen in person. So
That's also true. People who saw King Michel and Queen Sylvia in person,
they would not have escaped.
No.
Most of them would not.
No. That's a very good point. Lara says, Eden and Throne of Mare fell at roughly the same time, right? So Throne of Mare people probably got mixed up with the Horned One's followers. People wouldn't know who's who. Sometimes it's both.
When we're talking about people recognizing the twins' faces, in my head I heard part of that song from Legally Blonde. Hey, you look like that poster for Ireland. Long blonde hair and that sweet sunny face. Oh no, wait, that's the poster for Sweden. Screw it, I'll never see either place. They do look like the poster for Sweden.
They do.
This is more of a design of her armor than her face, but that's okay. Her face will come eventually.
I was like, yeah, are we ever going to
Or maybe
get
she's...
face?
Okay, see, this is a painting of her, and the beast came and ripped her head out of the painting, so it's just her beautiful armor and these claw marks in the painting, so we'll never know what she looked like.
Laura wants to know, how much do the girls know about the guard? Probably not very much, though Rosie would know more than Marie. Rosie spends, in general, more time with Oscar.
I think they know that Oscar was a part of the guard, for sure.
Yeah. They may even know that she was going to be captain of it. But she would have spoken. They know, well, I don't really see the harm in her telling them about the guard. Like the people who were in it, her friends and stuff. I can't imagine that she talks about it terribly often, though, because it would hurt. Excuse me. Jeez. Ooh, I'm excited to go to Paris tomorrow.
Me too.
Do you have any thoughts on what you'd like to do tomorrow?
I'd like to go to that cafe / comic store.
Mm-hmm. So we're not getting there until later in the afternoon. So
if we like it, we could use that for a meetup.
maybe not tomorrow. It's such late
No,
notice.
I mean like we can scope it out.
Oh, sure, of course.
See if we like it.
Yeah. Jamie says, so folks from Eden were taken into Thronimare, and when that fell, other cities assumed that all of them were cursed and just didn't want to take any chances. We didn't say that. We didn't say that.
You're putting word in the mummy mouth. Nobody knows what that's from but me and Ash.
But it is a good thought. God, Eleanor. These streams are interspersed with me going, God, Eleanor, like every few minutes.
Aggravated sigh.
Or just this wince of like, oh no, don't say that. Tell them about the mural that we saw.
Oh my god. So, we were walking to the Christmas market here the other day, which is really lovely. It's so charming, and they have glühwein and that kind of cheese thing that I was showing you guys earlier before we started recording that we had for lunch twice in a row. And it's so nice and so picturesque. And as we were walking there the other time, the first day that we went to it, we walked through this road, and on the way to the Christmas market, I happened to look up and see this mural. And at first I was squinting because it's kind of dark. And I wanted to see it so I could show it to Ash because they have these really beautiful murals in Brussels that are like based on Tintin and like comics and like various artists. And as I'm squinting in the dark, I'm like, that's porn. That's just like a close-up photorealistic painting, a giant painting the size of a house of a penis going in a vagina. And it's right outside somebody's window too, and it's overlooking the Christmas market. Wow. And so of course my next action is, Ash, look. And Ash looks and goes, whoa. Whoa. But that's what it was, y'all. I was like, wow. Europe is so wild.
Oh, I was going to take pictures and show Laura, but I was like, no.
I took pictures. It's okay. We passed it again today in the sun, so I got a really high-res photo.
God. I didn't want to scandalize anyone, so I didn't send it to anybody.
Anyone?
It really was like photorealistic, though. Whoever painted that did so lovingly.
You know what else I found out about it? Speaking of, there's a little story. It has a companion piece. Nikki told me about it. She was like, "Oh, you found the companion mural," and I was like, "What?" And she was like, "Yeah, you remember that one I showed you guys when we hung out? That's just like a giant dick on the wall? Yeah, that's the other piece the artist did." And I was like, wow.
Great.
So creative. Can you imagine having your window right next to that? Like every morning you look out, good morning, Brussels. Ah!
My eye!
Oh, what a beautiful God. Why they do this? Who approved this? Like, because you know they can't just go around painting murals for funsies. They had to get like approval, and presumably whoever owns the building had to be petitioned, like, hey, can I just draw like sex on your wall? Just like graphic, very graphic sex where children walk every day and go to the Christmas market. And somebody was like, yeah, that's a great idea. Please go ahead.
The thing is, too, though, like, I see depictions of sex everywhere we go here.
Yep, that's
Everywhere.
Europe for you.
Like, we went into this comic book shop today, and, like, there were all these comics at, Lara said, I don't want to sound like a conservative, but the children, kind of, like, they had these comic books, and it wasn't porn. It was just, it had sex in it, and I guess the story was about sex, but it wasn't like
Oh,
porn.
the one that you were talking about today?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't really find that offensive because it wasn't like, I mean, I guess you could say it was explicit, but it wasn't like realistically drawn. It was super super cartoony and stylized. And like the thing I like about Europe is that they do make comics for everybody.
Yeah, they do.
And they don't make comics something that's only for children. They're really proud of it that, they have this tradition of comics here. And I don't think it's terrible for a comic shop to have comics targeted at adults.
But it was like when I opened the book and looked in it like in it more, there was sex in it. The
Mhm.
comic itself was not like it obviously wasn't supposed to be a porn comic. There was a bigger story going on there. But it was at the level where kids could easily just pick it up. I mean, it was right next to a whole big stack of Smurfs stuff. Like
I guess, like, I don't think that children should be shielded from it in the way that, like, we pretend it doesn't happen up until they hit this magical age where you drop the bomb. Like, actually, we lied to you about where babies come from.
Yeah.
This is how it really, like, I don't think that's really healthy for kids either.
I don't either. It was just like I had pretty much no issue with the comic book, but the giant picture of the penis and the vagina.
Yeah, okay, like the mural, that's a lot. Like,
That's a lot.
I was just trying to go to the Christmas market, enjoy a nice date with my wife, show her Brussels Christmas, and then suddenly it's like, dick.
Yeah, pretty much.
Come on.
Bush. Like, I mean,
That,
right
that,
there.
I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot.
It was intense.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I think that, it's okay if it's in a place where you can go looking for it and find it if you want, but I didn't want that, right?
But like you were talking about earlier, Elena, before the live draw, we were talking about this to my brother yesterday when I called him to wish him happy holidays. But in the U.S., you see gratuitous violence everywhere, like everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
In video games that, anyone over the age of 12 can play, heads are exploding and you can shoot people and run over people and like...
Or like technically I think they have a age limit of 14, but like they have actual ad campaigns encouraging kids to get other people to buy the game for them.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be like, the game your mom doesn't want you to play.
Yeah.
And it's rated R, but they're marketing it at 14-year-olds.
Uh-huh. And so many movies have a ton of violence in them. Cartoons have characters beating each other up. Like, it's a lot. And yet you won't see
it anywhere.
you won't see uncovered titties anywhere in American advertising or just in the American public in general. You'll see sex trying to be sold in that, like, not the actual physical act of it, but women's bodies being
Objectified.
There you go. That's the word I was looking for.
But you won't see like actual nudity or
No.
outright porn.
No. And yet you come here to Europe and you see tons of naked statues and you see comics, where people have sex as part of their daily life and apparently also giant murals with penises and vaginas. And it's like, okay, well, fine. But the gratuitous violence is absent.
Mm-hmm. Or when it is there because it's from an American product, it's censored. Like, we used to buy video games to play in Austria, and Apparently Germanic countries are some of the most censored for violence. Like they will censor a lot of Hollywood movies, things like that, like make the blood brown or erase it completely if possible, and things like that. Cut scenes that are really violent. And we bought Grand Theft Auto, and the game was so different. Like because we had played my brother's game in the U.S. and it was so much more violent than the version they had like watered down.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was mad because the cheats didn't work on it because it was technically a different game. But I think that's the way it should be. Like, I think that violence is so much more bad for children to
Mm-hmm.
consume than seeing, consensual sex and things.
Yeah. And Laura just said there's a huge sexualization of nudity too. She remembers a Rugrats episode in which Tommy being around without his diaper was seen as absurd, and she was like, "This is a baby? Don't they have naked babies in America?" Yes, we do. But that's so true. Like, you don't it's ridiculous. I remember that there were people when I went to see Moana with my mom, um, there's a part of the movie where she is, a baby, and she's not wearing a shirt because she is a baby.
She's an infant.
She's barely able to toddle around. She's not wearing a top. My mom mentioned to me after the movie that surprised her so much. And she said that the woman who was sitting next to her, like, sucked her breath in rapidly through her teeth when she saw that the baby that was a girl didn't have a shirt on. It's like, but it's a baby.
Yeah, I watched the movie twice before that even registered with me. And the third time we were watching the movie in theaters because we really liked the movie and we saw it with like every friend that we have. We were watching it and I was like, "Hey, Moana's not wearing a top, and she's a girl,
Mm-hmm.
and she's a baby, and it's not a big deal." Wow,
Mm-hmm.
I'm so proud of them. But like, yeah, from a European perspective, that is not strange. It's not really something that would even register.
It reminds me too, I was talking to Elena about this a little bit earlier. So, I don't know if many of y'all in the chat know this, but I used to be a fan of the Aliens movies, like Xenomorphs, Ridley Scott, that sort of stuff. Sigourney Weaver, mostly. Let's be real, I wanted to be Sigourney Weaver when I grew up.
Let's be real.
Let's be real. Um, so, my brother was posting on Facebook. My brother is 8 years older than me. He is the one when I was a kid who like was watching these films and being terrified of them. And he was a teenager and I was young and staring at the screen like, okay, whatever. Um, so he's been posting recently on Facebook about the new Alien movie that's going to come out in 143 days. He even has a counter. Uh, and I was like, okay, well, let me check out the trailer. And I watched the trailer, and it really did occur to me just how disconnected horror, like, has become in the American mindset from, like, what's actually scary versus what they feel like will draw people to the screen. And what I mean by that is it's like they're trying to find the grossest, most hideous thing to put on the screen, like shock value, versus this is actually scary.
It's lazy, is what it is.
It is lazy. It's like, let's see how many body parts we can explode instead of this is an actual scary monster. I don't know. I feel like that is such a shortcut to take in any kind of narrative. And I'm so sick of shock value being the thing that is prized above an actual story. The thing that was so scary and so compelling about the first Alien movie wasn't the fact that this monster just, burst out of some dude's chest. It was the fact that then this woman was alone, well, progressively more and more alone on a gigantic ship floating through space with this creature, and that was just really scary. Like, she didn't know where it was, it had so many places it could hide.
The fear was that you couldn't see it.
Yeah, you couldn't see it. You knew what it did, but you only saw that happen once.
Would you say this is part of the reason why Stranger Things is so good? Because they kind of did a callback to the old school kind of horror where it's the suspense that's scary, not showing everything.
I think Stranger Things is popular for a lot more reasons than just that.
But
I
I'm
think
talking specifically from the horror aspect.
the horror aspect, yeah, I think that's one of the things that made a lot of horror people go, hey, because you don't actually see all of the monster for a really long time. You see a lot of horrific things, but you don't see the monster. I I think the biggest reason Stranger Things is popular is because it's told well through the lens. Bless you. It's largely told through the lens of a children's perspective, and so many people find that ultra compelling.
Thank you. What's your battery power at?
100 here. Have this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I guess it's hard for me to get really excited about horror movies ever, just because so often they play on shock value and gore and grossness instead of an actual compelling narrative. And I feel like horror stories, I usually like horror if it's done well, because I like seeing how people get out of certain situations, how when confronted with something awful they deal with it. That's interesting. I find that interesting. I don't want to read it every day.
That's why I liked Battle Royale when I first watched it, because it was really interesting. Like any kind of survival horror, it's the interest isn't really whatever the horror is, it's how different kinds of people will respond
Mm-hmm.
to an emergency situation or a survival situation, like who will betray other people for their own self-interest, who would just like give up and die because they can't deal with it, or who will actually try to band together with other people for an increased chance of survival. Stuff like that is really interesting.
Aw, Lara said, speaking of horror, the horror aspects of Sister Claire are so good. It's prime, I have no mouth and I must scream. I'm glad that you think so.
I'm glad.
I'm really glad. That makes me so happy. I'm like kicking my feet in delight. I find it really funny that one of the biggest fans of Stranger Things ever is Stephen King. It's because they essentially took like 80 leaves out of his various books. They took a lot of good stuff from his books and left much of the crap behind. Mm-hmm. Snapple crapple. any other questions? Not that we're finishing up, I just thought I would ask. Laura said, "Are Elena's eyes on fire as she draws approximately all the details?" I glanced over at Elena, and her eyes were squinted and her mouth was hanging slightly open.
Shh, don't give away my secrets, Ash. My eyes are also watering. My head is pounding. Am I really into this drawing, or am I just getting a fever again?
Elena. Calandra said, "Does Rose have legs?"
No.
This whole picture is a love letter to Rose's armor.
This was her ghost. See, she's floating away. Casper. Okay, now that I've drawn her armor, now I'm gonna draw her sword.
When will you get to her face?
I don't know, at some point. You know what her face looks like every other throne of Mata Royal. That's not the part that stands out.
Laura wants to know, is Rose's hair like Oscar's and Michelle's, with the little waves? No. No, her hair is straight. She said, "I always imagined it like straightish, as opposed to its owner." That's right. Had she been able to live, Rose would have not been straight.
Just like everybody else in Sister Claire. Did you already have like a very specific sexuality in mind for her?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. What?
Huh? Sorry.
What is it then?
I was mesmerized by you drawing the buttons. I mean, I always imagined her to be Ace, so identity-wise, anyway. But to prefer women if she was going to have to pick anybody.
Do you know what Rosie's sexual identity is? Anybody she can subjugate.
Did you get this away from me? Thank you. That sounded more violent than I intended. I'm sorry.
Which is actually not true. I think that Rosie likes either telling other people what to do or being told what to do. I don't think that she does very well when nobody is giving orders.
Mm-hmm.
Like, somebody has to. I think she is ambivalent, which, one she is doing, but that's why she and Oscar could never work out, aside from the whole incest thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because Oscar would never order her around. And she can't order Oscar around.
MK Art says, about sexuality and gender representation in Sister Claire, it seems that different types of relationships are accepted, but Oscar's gender representation and Mummel's wasn't. Only by a couple people. Like, by and large, people don't care. Um, Oscar had trouble with it all at once, and Mummel similarly.
Oscar, like, there was Sister Genevieve, and then there was the guy who tried to kill her, but his motivation was not transphobic. That
No.
was just kind of the icing on top of the cake of him already hating her.
Yeah. There are plenty of relationships in Sister Claire that are not easily accepted. Um,
I think Magpie and Marguerite's would be one that
we're
people would kind of
side eye.
yeah.
I mean, we're getting there. Like, I haven't had a lot of chances to explore a ton of relationships. Like, Olga's and Jackson's was largely frowned upon, at least by Abraham, who didn't think that Olga having a relationship like that in general was a good idea. That they worried about it. Like, it was a big worry for them whether it would be accepted. But most of the time, people who have problems with various identities or relationships in the Sister Claire verse aren't worried about it. Like, Sister Genevieve wasn't worried about. It's not as though she felt, not that this makes it any better, let me just preface what I'm about to say with that, but Sister Genevieve was worried about Oscar having a hard time being different in general. The only other person she had ever met who was like Oscar was Mummel, and it was very obvious to Genevieve that Mummel wasn't getting out of the red where she lives. And Genevieve very wrongfully assumed that Oscar was going to be boxing herself in. Ultimately ends up asking Sabine for help anyway. Like, please mentor this child since I obviously have no idea what the hell I'm doing.
Rose has legs.
Hallelujah. Now all she needs is a face. I am so tired of ink smearing when I try to write postcards.
Hot leg. Leg so hot I fry an egg. I love you guys. Ash, you're so cute.
Do you remember the other night what I was laughing about?
What were you laughing at?
A women.
Aww. That was a cute one.
Laura's giving me permission to tell the story. Excellent. So, so Laura and I were talking, and she mentioned something that she had seen in a Tumblr post about where not to touch a woman. But instead of typing a woman, she typed a women. And what immediately comes into my head but like a women, an eldritch horror, like called a women, and all I could imagine was do not touch them here, do not touch them there, do not touch them anywhere.
That sounds like some kind of demonic Dr. Seuss rhyme.
Yes, that's the whole point. Yes, and I was like sobbing with laughter at my own stupid joke. Like I was like sobbing. Just oh my god. I thought it was the funniest thing ever. And it was like 7 a.m. and then I told Elena about it and I started crying all over again. Like
You were a hot mess, Ash. Don't cry. She's gonna cry again. It's okay.
oh women.
There's a song that's sung by Marlene Dietrich called, and I don't remember what it's called. I presume it's called Blonde Women. And I remember one time while my dad was flipping through radio stations, he happened upon that song being played. And she went, "The charming, alarming blonde women." And that's exactly what you just reminded me of. I haven't thought about that in a long time.
The charming,
Alarming blonde women.
You're drawing one right now.
I know, right? It's so accurate.
Oh, Arwen Trow said, throwback to the Tumblr post about the pear. Oh
my god. Don't even talk about the pear. We don't talk about that. You see what you've done? You've turned my wife into a blubbering mess.
Oh,
she's
God.
like fanning herself.
Oh, God. Okay.
Okay. God. You are such a mess. Well, now you have to tell people what the pear thing is. Because there are people here who don't know. They don't know the pear. When Ash stops crying, maybe she will share the joy.
Give me the name.
A Kleenex. Here you go.
Oh, God, okay. Oh, God. Oh. Oh.
Stop.
Oh. I can't tell the pear story. I'll never make it through it. Just like Laura just said, Shakira in the chat. And that's something that happened. We were writing about something really solemn. I don't remember what it was, but I said something and I set it up. And Laura interjects into this really, like, emotionally charged moment that we were writing about. And she goes, Shakira, Shakira.
Oh, baby, when you talk like that, you make a woman go mad.
But she was laugh crying. I was laugh crying. There was just tears everywhere. I can't even. I gotta. I gotta comb my tits over here.
So be wise and keep on reading the signs of my body.
No. Lara reminds me. She says, that's because you had just written whatever, whenever. And she went, Shakira, Shakira.
Oh my god, Ash! Ash!
You still haven't drawn her face.
I know, but look at this beautiful sword.
You see it. God, Elna.
Look at me trying to draw a straight line without the line tool.
Nothing about you is straight, darling.
I know, can't even draw straight. That just reminds me of one of the first times that me and Sarah hung out, and I really shocked her and hurt her feelings by accident because she didn't realize I was joking, but she did this. She's gonna hate me for telling this story. I'm gonna tell it anyway. She drove us to Barnes & Noble, and she did a terrible parking job. I mean, she parked like diagonally, and when we got out of the car and looked out, I looked at her and I was like, damn, Sarah, you can't even park straight. And she looked at me with these Bambi eyes full of hurt. And I was like, no, it's a joke because, yeah, it's fine. Let's just get in and fix it. But it took her like a full 20 seconds to realize that it was a joke. She thought I was just being mean. I'm like, no, I know I'm petty and mean, but I'm not that mean to people's faces. Like,
Is what Rosalie killing Oscar? What? Huh? How has that been discussed in previous live rights?
huh?
I have never discussed Rosalie killing Oscar. What? What are you talking about, Proxy? Oh, Laura wants to know, just to prove her point, the WTF ship is an age-different ship, right? Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Be glad.
Okay, I guess I should start on her face now.
Yeah, maybe.
Wow, look at all this detail. This was the sketch I had drawn underneath. And this is with all the detail on it.
Jeez, Helena. Make her really pretty.
I'm trying.
Shouldn't be hard considering.
Probably gonna have to move her head. That's okay. That's the joy of digital. I can just pick something up and move it. I'm trying to envision Rosie in my head and use elements of her without making it identical to her. Rose is like the bad bitch that Rosie wishes she was.
Yeah. If only they had been able to meet one another. Rose would be Rosalie's favorite aunt.
Mm-hmm.
Well, be her only aunt. After this second, I want to take the shower.
I'm not saying anything. I wasn't saying like, yeah, you need one or anything like that.
Jesus.
Don't give me this contemptuous look in advance. I said nothing.
Mean to me.
I'm not mean to you.
Mean to me.
I'm so nice to you. I made you dinner twice the other night because you didn't like the first one I
Neither
made.
did you. Don't even. You also almost vomited when you put that shit in your mouth. I don't even want to hear
You
it.
know what? The important thing is that I tried and I did make you dinner twice and I made it today and you liked it this time. So I'm nice to you.
Yeah, try to finish this soon. You're almost two.
Oh, shoot. I got all wrapped up with my details.
Karen said A+ for trying, Ella. Smoosh wants to know, what was the horrible first dinner?
It was supposed to be pasta with mussels, and the mussels that we had got were from a jar, and they were apparently really vinegary, which I didn't realize. And we had technical problems with the pasta pot, which ended up with the water not being hot enough, and the water turned the pasta into glue. It was just a bad time. I don't know if she looks that much like Rosie. She also looks a little bit older than I intended.
Oh, Proxy says, Ash, earlier we were talking about Rosie being Kylo Ren, and I remember you saying that in that scenario, the person Rosalie stabs with a lightsaber would be her precious Oscar. Yes, okay, I do recall
Or I
that.
think I said that.
Yeah, or maybe we said it at the same time, but yeah. That one drawer, drawer,
Drawer.
drawer. This sweetheart asks us, so, Ellen and Ash, how are you today?
I'm still recovering from being sick, but otherwise I'm doing pretty good. Thank you. Excited to go to Paris tomorrow.
Yeah. I'm excited to go to Paris. I'm not super excited to spend like 4 hours on a bus. I hope that it is a good, interesting bus ride and not like just highway for 4 hours. Oh God, ow. My spine. Oh.
What are you doing?
Oh, I hurt myself.
No.
I don't know if the bus has Wi-Fi, Laura. I hope so. For a minute, Karen, I thought you were talking about me. Karen wrote, so regal. And I thought she meant me hurting myself. And I was about to be like, girl, bye. Oh, she's really pretty.
Thank you, dear.
Good job.
Her neck's a little long, but that's okay. I will fix.
Okay.
Oh my god. Make her whole head disappear. Should her hair be down?
Yes. You know she hated standing for this portrait. They did have photographs, though, actually. But they probably had a portrait commissioned.
If her hair is down, it will cover this beautiful armor that I slaved over.
Casey says, be careful, lots of the people in Paris are downright nasty toward people from the USA. With Elena, though, that might not be as bad.
I can pretend to speak French.
I think of the two of us, I'm more suited to handle conflict. But I think it'll be fine. We've had pretty good experiences here so far.
This is way too plain a hairstyle for...
Give her some braids. Some, like, little braids.
Mm-hmm.
You could also add a circlet or something.
Mm-hmm. Give her a little aerial kind of...
I misheard you just now.
I'm not drawing her areolas, Ash.
I was just...
Not after I lovingly designed this armor.
My head whipped around like, what?
Regina. No, I was trying to say I could give her these bangs like Ariel, as in...
I got it.
It's okay, I'm fixing it. Ah.
Elena, will Rose also have the sparkles?
Hmm.
You should give them to her.
I can give her the sparkles.
Yeah. Oh. Stretch, stretch, stretch. MK Art asks, are the sparkles ever explained? I know Oscar joked about glitter with Esperanza. It's just a thing. I've put in like a lot of little tidbits that could sort of explain it, but just in general, we think it's funny. So. Kalandra wants to know if I'm okay. My back is really sore right now, and I really want to take a shower because my hair is greasy, according to Elena. And
earlier, Ash was like, rub my head. So I was like, okay. And I'm rubbing it, and I rub a little further down, and I hit the grease layer, and I was
come
like,
on,
oh
Elena.
no.
You're making it sound like I have nast in my hair.
You don't have nast in your hair. You just need a shower, dear.
God.
You're all right, dear. Ash's hair is magical in that actually when she doesn't shower for a day or two, it actually looks really good. I'm just saying, this is a good thing, Ash. My hair does not. My hair looks terrible. They would never let her look like that in a painting. Having like a hair hanging down from her face like that. It does make her look more like Rosie though.
Oh, that's a good question. MK Art asks, so I don't know if you answered this, but which character in Sister Claire matches your personalities the best? How about you, Ellen?
I think the twins equally. I think like the twins together, if you consider them a character. I feel at times more like one or the other. Probably more like Rosie though.
You?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Um, most like me. Clementine, probably.
Does her hair look okay?
I
It
like
just
it.
looks so plain for.
Well, you could give her a circlet, that would help.
Mm-hmm. Oops, I spelled princess wrong. French empress. Thanks for coming, MK Art.
Oh, gotta go. Good night. I've enjoyed having you here the past several nights.
Mm-hmm.
Smoosh said, what about a tiara? That would also be pretty. I was thinking more like, a little circlet or something rather than a crown.
I haven't drawn anybody else wearing a circlet in that royal family, though.
Well, she's not queen yet, so we've never shown what a princess would wear. Casey hasn't read the live right yet. Casey, if you're wondering who this person is and why she is sad, or why other people are sad about her, you should read the most recent live read, which I should link. That's kind of making it difficult for people to read it, Ash. Oh, if people want a link to the most recent live write, I am putting it in the chat. I hope I just put the right one in there. Yeah, I did. Oh, Kilandra said, I don't know if this update was done recently or not, but I love the new archive summaries for the missing moments in comic chapters. It reminds me of the episode descriptions for Steven Universe. Thank you. We actually need to update those. If our site tech would give me control of the descriptions, I would happily go through and put new descriptions in there.
Almost done with this.
Okay.
She still doesn't really look royal enough. It's her hair. It makes her look like just any random teenage girl.
Well,
I think her hair should be up, honestly.
I like her hair down, but if you want to try something else, by all means. I also think braids would help, like some ornate braids in it.
Well, you know how I love ornate things. Jesus.
We're going to be here for
Did
another
you
3
say
hours.
ornate braids?
Don't make her look like a Star Wars character, that's all I ask. Not that that's a bad thing, it's just I do want to be able to bathe before 4 a.m., if at all possible. How long are we in Paris? 3 days?
Yes. Yes, we are. She made her hair longer too. I think that also adds to the prestige. Now she looks like some kind of elven king, which, you know, is not a terrible association to have.
It's really not.
Yeah, I think that's a lot better, actually.
Uh-huh.
I might also try covering up her ear and see how that looks. Yeah, that's better.
Okay.
Yeah, now she looks more like how I imagined.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think, chat?
Appropriately heartbreaking.
On that note, I think we are finito.
Are there any questions as we wrap up here?
Let me do a final check. Her eyes are a little bit far, but
Kalandra has a question.
yeah.
Let's have it, dear heart. That is a good question. Is king a title passed from parent to child, or would Rose be queen? She would be queen. Queen Rose. Just like her mother was Queen Azalea. Her mother was a bitch! As I'm sure you gathered reading. Funny you should ask, though. Kalandra said, I'm thinking of the Enchanted Forest Chronicles and how king is the title of the ruler no matter what gender. Where Sylvia is from, everyone is called king.
I thought you were going to say where Sylvia's from, everybody's called queen. And I was like, that's awesome.
No, king.
Can we change it?
I guess we could change it. Ellen was like, no,
No.
more girl.
More girl.
More girl. Jamie says, I hope you enjoy Paris and you both have a great New Year's.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you. Yeah, we probably won't see you all again before New Year's, although we're coming back here a couple days before New Year's. Like, we're coming back here the 29th.
Just putting finishing touches on her now.
Okay.
But I'll read down in a moment. She has the eyeliner of Rosie's dreams.
Any last questions? Anything at all?
If there are none, I think it's time to say buonanotte.
Proxy said, if she punched me in the face, I would say thank you.
One time, Princess Rose punched me in the face. It was awesome. On that note, shall we say goodnight?
I think we should.
Thank you for coming, everyone. We had a really good time. Thank you for putting up with my anal obsession with details. I'm sure you guys enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed.
Can you zoom in on
drawing it picture a little bit?
Yeah. Stop there. Wait for my screen to catch up.
Why don't you just look at my screen? Is her neck a little bit off center?
I think she's fine. Why is the shine in one of her eyes so much bigger than the other?
I don't know. It doesn't have to be symmetrical.
Oh, you should give her a little rosier.
Sailor Jupiter style.
Oh, the sparkles. Gotta give her the sparkles.
Okay. What was the other thing I had forgotten?
Oh, did you want to give her an earring?
Oh, okay.
You don't have to if you don't want to, but I think it would. You see how the white in one of her eyes is so much like the shine? It's bothering me because it makes...
Watch when I post this on Tumblr, people are going to be like, Oscar's mom.
Bzzzt. When you post on Tumblr, you should link to the live site.
Yeah.
So people can cry. It upset me writing it.
Is this enough bling?
I think it's enough bling. Laura said, Oscar's mom is always going to be like Molly Weasley in my head. Lovable, homey, and round. That's not too far from the truth. I imagine her being very curvy.
So basically not looking anything like Oscar.
Not a ton, no.
Okay. I will post this on Tumblr. Thank you so much for coming, everyone. We had a really good time. I love how this one came out.
I do too. It's really excellent. Oh, thank you so much for spending the holidays with us. If we don't see you again before New Year's, check the site on New Year's Day. You're gonna like it.
Good night. Good night. Good